Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I never thought that I would be making another video related to my sexual harassment experience, but here we are. It did take me a few days to process the whole thing, but I really feel like talking about this because I know a lot of women and some men out there are experiencing similar things. I just really want them to know that if you're going through this, you're not alone. And second of all, I really feel like people should be more aware of such situations. You know, they can happen anywhere, anytime to anyone. So what happened this week? Basically a few days ago, I was walking my dog to my friend's house. So I went downstairs, I was walking my dog just like any other day, you know, and it was not like super late or anything. It was only about like 15 past 10 or something. All the shops and, you know, restaurants and everything, they were still open at that time. And it was my community, you know, a place where you would normally consider like safer than like the outside world. So I was walking him and suddenly I heard this guy talking to me, like shouting kind of. He was like, oh hey, like, then I looked to the left side, I saw this guy, Chinese, a little bit shorter than me, and he looked harmless. He looked very, very harmless, and he was wearing like glasses, like a typical nerdy look, I guess you can say. And he also gave me like a very friendly approach. He was like, oh, like, what kind of dog do you have, you know? And I actually get that a lot in this neighborhood. Like a lot of my neighbors, they got curious about my dog because he's like a mixed breed, so he's not like a very like a common dog that you can just find anywhere, like a Shiba or something, you know. So yeah, he asked me what dog I had, and I was like, oh, I really don't know. I think it's mixed. I'm pretty sure it's mixed. I think there's some like Chihuahua or something in it, but I'm not exactly sure what kind of like breed he is. So I thought the conversation would end there, and I could just, you know, walk to my friend's house. And then he didn't stop the conversation. He stopped me. He started walking towards me, but the way he was walking was a little bit different than just, you know, the average people. He was like wobbling. He was, you know, like, you know, one leg was like not really there. And he did tell me that he was disabled. He was like, oh yeah, one of my legs is not functioning well, so like, can you please hold my hand? Can you please carry me to like the supermarket, because my friend is waiting for me there and I need to go there and meet him. So I was like, you know, he looked really, really harmless. So I was like, oh yeah, no problem, sure. Like, you know, I was super, super friendly. I was like, let me carry you, let me help you, let me hold your hand, let me do whatever. So I was grabbing his hand and just, you know, I started walking him, like holding him and walking him, and then he started saying things like, oh, just like hold me tighter, and I was like, okay, like, so I was using more strength. I was holding him tightly, and, you know, I was almost like squeezing his hand at one point, and he was still saying like, oh, tighter, and I was like, first of all, why would you need someone to hold you that tight, like squeezing you that kind of, you know? And second of all, how does this have anything to do with your leg? I was like, okay, I'm just gonna try to hold you as tight as possible, I guess. So I was like squeezing his hand. I was like, whatever, I'm just gonna walk you to the supermarket. And, you know, we were just like walking and trying to have like a conversation or something. And he started asking me, your dress is pretty, like, is it in pink? I was like, yeah, it's pink. So I would ask this question like, oh, like, so you cannot identify the colors? Like, you cannot see the colors? Is that why you asked the question? So he was like, yeah, like that's kind of like one of the problems of mine as well, like I cannot see the colors. And he started asking me more questions, and one question was like, so like, if my friend is not there, can you like just walk me to the riverside? I just kind of like walk with me for like a short 10 minutes or something. And then I was like, since I was going to my friend's house, of course I said like, I'm sorry, like I have my dog with me and then I'm going to my friend's house, so like I'm not really in a place where I have a lot of time to just, you know, go walk around, you know. I was indeed not in a place where I could walk him, so I was telling him the truth. He didn't give up. He started like, you know, asking more questions like, does he like bark at like strangers when they feel like you are in danger or something? And I was like, why would you ask that? Normal people wouldn't ask that. Again, I was like sensing something off, but I wasn't going there because he just looked that harmless and nerdy, and I was really not going there. Then he started throwing more questions on me. So he went back to the dress topic. He was like, oh, so like you're wearing a dress, right? You're not wearing like a separated outfit or something? And I was like, yeah, it's a dress. And then I started thinking like, hold on, I thought you could see items, but only with like no colors. You also cannot see the items, like, but you can walk, you can see the way and walk. Like, what is going on? And I was kind of feeling like, is this guy really telling me the truth? Like, is he really having all these problems that he said he had? Things are getting a little bit fishy, and he was really thinking about taking me to the riverside, because after the dress question he started asking again, like, oh man, I think my friend may be late, please can you walk me to the riverside, like let's just take a short like 10 minutes walk. And I was like, I'm sorry, I'm really not in a place to do that, you know. Like at that time I was already thinking like, oh, like there's no light near the riverside, there's no people near the riverside at that hour. For sure I'm not going there after you throwing all these odd questions on me. And then the final red flag, the one question was him asking me about the texture of the dress. So he started asking like, oh, like what kind of texture is that? Like, I wonder what the texture is. Like, can I touch your dress? And I was like, I mean, you can touch here. And then he asked me like, oh, are you sure it's okay? Like, it's illegal. Are you sure it's okay? It's illegal. And I was like, where do you think you're gonna touch? I told you, touch here. I didn't ask you to grab my boobs or anything. Like, where do you think you're gonna touch to be considered like illegal? Like, a normal person would never go there. At that point, I knew what I was slowly falling into. And we were so close to the riverside because the supermarket that he asked me to take him to was right next to the riverside. And there was like almost no one there at that point already. So he knew that for sure I was not going to the riverside with him, but we were about to reach to the supermarket. So it was about the point when we were about to separate. Then he knew that if he wanted to do something to me, it would have to be that moment. That's why he was rushing to throw all those questions on me, asking if my dog would bark if he sensed like the owner is in danger. That's why he was throwing all the odd questions about my dress and try to get my guards down, and so that I would agree to let him touch me, just so even if I call the police, he can still tell the police that she said it's okay to touch her. You see what he's doing there? All the steps that he was following, he had a plan. It was definitely not his first time, and I'm sure it's not going to be his last time. I was very disappointed at myself because it's not my first time getting sexual harassment. I consider myself as someone who always has the guards, you know, always has like the wall up when I'm going out. I try not to let guys have the opportunity to take the advantage of me. But even with that mentality built in, I still did not see this coming, because he just had his way to look so nerdy and innocent and just harmless, and he just looked like he really needed some help, and I just fell for it. I fell for it. I couldn't realize that, and I was getting closer and closer to the danger. I always help people, and somehow I was used, I was fooled. I was so disappointed and terrified. I could not imagine what could have happened to me if I actually took him to the riverside where there's no light and no people. Knowing that he already asked me the questions about my dog will be barking or not if he sounds like the owner is in danger, I really don't know what he was thinking, and I don't really want to know. And I had to get some alcohol to put myself to sleep that night. It took me a few days to film this video because I was in such shock. Before filming this video, I actually asked on my social media just to see if you guys have any questions to ask me. And Melanie asked me, when did you notice or feel like the situation is getting dangerous? And I hope you have the answer now. It was all those questions that he was asking me. Also, Melanie asked me, how did you safely get out of the situation? So I mentioned that we were walking to the supermarket, right? At that moment when I was realizing all those things in my mind, you know, we were actually not far from the supermarket. I didn't want to, and I couldn't let him realize what I was realizing. So because he asked me if I could touch my dress and being illegal, blah blah, and all those things. So I was kind of like pretending that I was following him. I was like, oh yeah, no problem. But I mean, if you're worried that, you know, I might say something, or you know, anything can go wrong, then we can just go to somewhere with like more people, and then, you know, I'll let you touch my dress, you know. So of course I didn't let him touch my dress or touch me anywhere. I was already feeling like vomiting just by holding his hand. I was like, oh my god, I'm going to go back home and just use all those alcohol wipes and stuff and just clean my hand. Like, you know, I was so disgusted. Anyway, I was pretending to be calm. We saw the supermarket was like closed, so I was like, oh, like it's closed, sorry, like but you can wait for a friend here. I saw like there was like a bench there, so I was like, you can just sit there and wait for a friend there. It's good for relax, you need to take some rest. And my friend's building is actually here, so I'm just gonna go now. Yeah, like I hope you have a great night. You know, I was really trying to be like friendly because I didn't want him to know that I knew, because I didn't know how he would react to the situation. Then I just quickly, you know, walked away and quickly went to my friend's building, and that's how I got away. And also I got something from Instagram. Talita? Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce her name, but she sent me a very warming message. Since I saw your video on Reddit, I admire your bravery and honesty. I don't have questions. I'm waiting for your perspective. All the best. Thank you very much. It really means a lot to me because I was really in shock that night. I remember being in my friend's house and I was just sitting and I was just like, you know, like, can we just talk about how bad someone is to pretend to be disabled? And I got proof. I got proof that he's not disabled. I got proof. I'll show you in a bit. Larissa, I think that's how I pronounce her name. I hope I'm right. She said, sorry to hear that, dear. This is terrible. What happened with you? I've been raped and it's terrible and I hate sexual harassment. Yeah, I'm definitely grateful for the fact that I was able to withdraw myself from that situation. And I really can't imagine what those people have gone through if the whole situation just goes all the way to like the worst point. And it leaves you so much trauma, and it really affects the relationships we have with men. It can potentially destroy our trust and feelings for many men out there. And on TikTok, 2 years ago, there was this trend called 97%. So it's a report written in the UK. 97% of women in the country had experienced sexual harassment in their lives. 97%. Can you believe that number? And I will show you what I was wearing that night, because I know some stupid people out there will be commenting, maybe you're just dressing less, you're showing off your boobs like this, so you're asking for it. You know, after posting my first sexual harassment video, there were some men on social media just commenting, reposting and commenting on the video, saying that I was asking for it. You know what? Even if I was wearing something sexy, it doesn't mean anyone would have the right to harass me, to insult me. If you have watched my last sexual harassment video, you would know that I exposed that guy's face and name and everything at the end of the video, right? Me filming this video now, of course, I would still give you something. So I do have an after story. After saying goodbye to him and also going to my friend's house, saying goodbye to my friend, coming back home, you know, I actually went to the juice shop right below my building because the owner there has been running his juice shop business for many years. So I figured maybe I can just ask him. Maybe he has heard of this guy, maybe he has seen this guy before, or maybe has his contact or whatever. And he knew exactly who he is because he said, this guy, let's call him Jack, okay? So he told me that Jack has been living in this community for many years. He grew up in this community. This guy has been doing this to random women on the street for over 10 years. For over 10 years. Not months, not days, years. It was so bad that basically all the old neighbors know this guy, and whenever he's around, they would try to just make him go away because they don't want a guy like this to stay there and harass their female customers. And the owner, like 2 nights ago, he saw him walking outside of his juice shop. He actually ran outside to get a video of him to ask me if it was the guy and also to show me that he's not disabled. Remember I said that I got proof that he's not disabled? Here's the proof.
是不是这个？是不是这个？喂，在这方面啊？喂。
See? This guy is walking perfectly fine. He's perfectly healthy, at least physically. So you may have wondered if I went to the police station or not. I did not this time, and I have a reason for that. The juice shop owner told me that although he's not like a physically disabled person, but it seems like there was something going on here that made him do all that. And I mean, it's not to justify like what he did to me or to others, but I knew that if that was the situation, if that was the condition, the police wouldn't be able to get to him. So if I went to the police station, it would actually do nothing. Because he told me for the past 10 years, they've tried so many times, it was not going anywhere. All we can do now is just to be aware of this guy. That's what he said to me. Unfortunately, it is what it is, and I can't just have to let go, I guess. But at least I know like I was not like the only target, because that was what I was, you know, afraid of. Hey guys, Future Editing Shia here. I just realized that my camera died when I was recording, so there was no outro. So I just want to quickly say thank you so much for watching this video. It means a lot to me if you watch it to the end. I just really feel like talking about this, knowing that there's a lot of people out there suffering from the same things. And yeah, leave a comment down below. And yeah, leave a comment down below and let me know what you think. And definitely stay safe when you're going out. And I'll see you guys next week. Bye!